Welcome to Mic Check Waifu Waifu.
Mic check, waifu, waifu. Tell him, is that you?
What's up, 231?
This is episode 231 of Mic Check, waifu, waifu. As always, it's brought to you by Patreon. Make sure you go to patreon.com/Mic Check, waifu, waifu to get access to the early access to the video version of this podcast, to get exclusive access to the conversational podcast, the after story, and to get access to Take Talk and Mic Check manga and a bunch of other bonus content over at patreon.com/Mic Check waifu waifu. Shout out to the Patreon producers: Christian, our archivist; Dre, the GOAT G; Rob from Dad Needs to Talk podcast. Check out Dad Needs to Talk podcast. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Johnny from Shogo High; Get the Pro from Chaotic Culture; Explicitly; Monique Williams; Nachi; Semi Sensei; Frozen; Saphir, T Money Fingers. Thank y'all so much for producing this and many other episodes of the podcast. We appreciate you. We couldn't do this without y'all. It means a lot to us. Speaking of meaning a lot to us, shout out to the Spotify Rap. For the first time in about, 3.5 years, Montel, I signed into Spotify Podcasters.
Yeah.
Which is something I haven't done in so long because, again, we use Libsyn, and Libsyn kind of tracks all of our stats together. So all we ever see is the stats together. And it broke down Spotify. I had no fucking idea that our Spotify listens was as deep as they are. So yeah. Shout out to y'all on Spotify. If y'all could do us a favor, rate us on Spotify. We got 41 ratings and the 4.7 star, which is dope. I'm okay with it not being a perfect 5. Because that means everybody that listens to us are real people that give real opinions on how they feel about the podcast. Listen, it don't matter what you rate us. Just rate us on Spotify, rate us on iTunes. Most of our listens come from like iTunes and other podcasting services instead of Spotify. But a lot of people listen on Spotify as well. And I wanted to thank y'all so much over there for listening to us. I want to do something at the beginning of this episode before I dive into the rigmaroles and how you doing. I want to shout out to a couple of people specifically from Spotify. I did not know you could do this until I logged in because this is all brand new to me because I haven't logged in Spotify Podcasters since 3.5 years. But
it's been a bit.
Yeah, you can publish, people can comment on episodes and you can publish the responses. So for the first time I published a couple of responses we got, and one comes from NW. He's been listening for a very, very long time. He says 2 months ago, on our first Mic Check Live, which is episode 216, he says, great episode, favorite podcast to listen to for excellent anime recommendation and reviews. So MW, thank you so much for doing that. I actually follow him on our Anilist as well, so I always see what he's watching and reading and what he's up to. He's deep. Also, let me go back here. We got another one from our guy, one of our Patreon producers, Semi Sensei. He says another great episode. This is on 226 Mic Check Live 3. He says another great episode from y'all. Also, the intermission song was crazy. I got to listen to it back to figure out the name. And that name is called Chromatic. It's from the Beast Coast's playlist. So if you haven't found the name yet, it's called Chromatic. That song was incredible. I think I played it recently too. Maybe on Mic Check Live 4, at the beginning before we started. It's a dope song. So thank y'all over on Spotify. Yeah, even just logging in from the last time I checked, we got a couple of new followers as well. We learned that 117 of y'all have this podcast as y'all top 10 on Spotify, just the Spotify listeners, by the way. And then 75 of them of y'all have it in y'all top 5. And then 17 of y'all has it as y'all number 1 podcast on Spotify. So that shit is incredible, man. That's so dope. Like I said, most of our listeners don't even come from Spotify. So to know that many people listen to us on Spotify, it's like like tens of thousands of y'all. It's fucking crazy. We appreciate it so very much. Our community is very quiet, which I like as far as social goes, and I absolutely love that. Like, it's while we love to hear from y'all, like more than anything, we love hearing from y'all and love having y'all be a part of this show. But y'all are like silent killers out there. Y'all just listen and move on, and like that shit means the world. And we don't really realize it because we don't dive too deep in our numbers per se until like the Spotify rap came up. I'm like, let me check this Spotify podcast just because I saw shout out to Show Go High and Dad Needs to Talk. They were posting theirs, and I'm like, man, let me check out what's going on with ours because I haven't logged into this in 3.5 years. I might as well see what's going on. And lo and behold, I find, I mean, just so much detail and unique. It's crazy. It's insane. So I can't thank y'all enough for listening. Like, truly, it means the world to us because without y'all listening, we wouldn't be doing this, or we probably would be doing it anyway, to be honest.
It's passionate in this at this point.
Exactly. It's just a passion for us. We've been doing this for 4 years, Montel. 4 years. We kind of OGs. It feels like.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's nice.
Yeah, consistent in everything. Love y'all. All right. To get into the show, though, I just wanted to get that out the way because I feel like that was super important to do because it's very important to us. Now, Tell, how you feeling, brother? Because this is a big episode.
Oh yeah, I'm good. It's been actually a pretty decent week for me outside of my phone. I'm having its own little technical issues, but if you can't notice, if you're not watching the video version, Polo is noticing that I'm apparently a little fuzzy, and having some latency issues here. Someone hit a pole. Oh,
well, there you go.
In my city this week, literally right around the corner from me, and it knocked out the power from here all the way past Walmart.
Damn. Now my internet Walmart in the country.
Right. My internet never went out though because I have a little. Well, so I have like this little UPC battery backup on my Wi-Fi. So my internet, my computer never turned off or anything, and they got the power back on, but I did get a message from Xfinity and AT&T saying, "Hey, you may be experiencing power outages, and or you may be experiencing internet outages." I never got an internet outage; my internet never went out. But it kind of makes sense if I don't know if they still tinkering with whatever they have to do and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, so I look a little fuzzy right now. Sadly, you just got to have to listen to the smooth sounds of my voice and enjoy Polo's visuals.
I mean, the video version isn't what we are predicated on anyway, which I would like for that to change. Like, I want to make sure y'all go over to youtube.com/@MikeCheckWaifu and subscribe. I want to start building that up more. But yeah, you sound fine, so that's all that really matters. As long as you sound good, we're good. All right, Till.
How are you doing?
Oh shit, yeah, me. I'm doing really well. I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later, but I've been fucking gaming per usual. It's literally my career, my job, my life. I haven't been streaming though, so I guess it really ain't my job because I haven't been making money from it. But the gaming is crazy, and I got a lot to say about that particular portion of what I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But it's been good. So for those of you that don't know, I'm going through the Yakuza series. It's a game series that I kind of missed in my time to catch up before Like a Dragon Infinite. Like a Dragon is one of my top 5 favorite games. That was the first Yakuza game I've ever played. And you didn't need to play the past Yakuza game to understand that one because that's like a good jumping off point for like new people to the series. And it was great. It was a fantastic game. But Like a Dragon Infinite is bringing the main character from those classic Yakuza games into Infinite via a connection through a story per se. And there's a game that just came out called Like a Dragon Gaiden that kind of connects those two stories together and bring those two characters together. But before that, I wanted to play the previous games, and it's 7 of them technically. So I started with Yakuza 0. I beat that one. I beat Yakuza 1, Kiwami 2, 3, and 4. So I beat 4 Yakuza games. That's about a total of, I don't know, 80, 90 hours. No, more than that. It's about 160 hours of game that I've beaten.
That's crazy.
Within the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it's insane. I've been popping off. The games are great. Some of them, Yakuza 3 stinks. 4 is a little bit better, but they're a little dated because they're like PlayStation 3 games, but I digress. So I'm on 5 right now, and 5 is the longest one out of all of them. So it'll take me a little bit longer to...
You loving it, though?
2 hours in, can't really say because there's just a lot of dialogue right now, but we'll find out shortly. I gotta beat them all though before January 25th when Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite comes out. So
plenty of time.
I'm starting to slow down now just so I can catch my breath because I've been literally so deep in the Yakuza games. It's crazy. But yeah, that's for me. And you know, I'm gonna just keep it real with y'all. The holiday season depression. I suffer from depression severely, but I handle it in very different ways by like taking time to be by myself and kind of just focusing on. So again, I know a lot of people are waiting for the Take Talk, the boys Take Talk. I haven't been able to work on that this week because I can't, you know, depression is a real thing. So if you're suffering from it, do whatever you need to do to make sure you can get past it without, you know, harming yourself or others. So just, again, if you need to talk to somebody, make sure y'all do that. It's a debilitating thing. And if you need help from it, try to get it as best as you can or do whatever you can to get through it. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what I've been doing is gaming, and that's been helping me through it. So
now I wanted to say, is it the seasonal depression kind of thing?
Not really, because I don't really care too much about the holiday season, like Christmas and Thanksgiving and stuff like that. It does suck Thanksgiving time because it was always traditions that I did with my family. We used to Tell was always he's seen them. We used to get together during Thanksgiving, and even if nobody was eating food, there'll be karaoke or just sitting and talking and having a good time. And being away from that sucked this year. My significant other was at work too, so it was like I was just here, by myself, doing nothing.
I do want to say, Brolo, I experienced the same thing, and it's been quite a few years for me, in all honesty, because I'm not gonna say I have the seasonal depression thing, but this time of year is my favorite one because it's cool. But my mom kind of like raised me on this, like we've been set to this idea, like we spend time with family around this time.
Right.
It's not really the holiday. I don't really care nothing about the holiday at all.
Facts.
But being like 1,200 miles away from like basically all of your family outside of what you have as my core family right now is technically here, like my wife and my kids. But my mom, my dad, my cousins who are like brothers to me, Polo and everybody else, like we used to spend those holidays together. Like I remember Thanksgiving we might be at Polo house for a little bit and I'm gonna drive home and come kick it with mine, and then I might drive around the corner and go get some of CJ grandma honey baked ham. So I get it. While I don't really care about the celebration, it's always about not the holiday. I don't really care about the holiday, but it's the celebration with those people that I miss. I do kind of experience a little bit of that too, and it's hard to push through, bro.
Yeah, and maybe some of that is it, but normally it's just from time to time. There's times where I feel this way, and again, I gotta fight this. It's always something that gets me through it. If it was 6 months ago, it was me working out a lot. 3 months ago, it was me sleeping a lot, and then now it's been me just pushing through like games and stuff, like games and then anime, literally what I do always anyway. But those literally has been putting me in the okay place, and I'm thankful for that. I appreciate that. But yeah, other than that, great stuff. Now it's a big episode. We're gonna start off with episode of the week this week, and it's funny because I don't know what Tails is, and I got mines, but I think ours is the same, and it's fucking insane if it's the same because this show would never. You asked us last week, would this ever? It will probably be not never specifically. But what was your episode?
I can't remember when I've ever had this anime as episode of the week.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was possible that it was at one point. Because for me, it never was. It never was even close.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had it. But it's Dr.Stone this week for me.
Okay. I had a Dr.Stone as an episode of the week. Great episode.
It was a phenomenal episode. Now, I did have some competition with specifically this week's episode of JJK, but we knew this was coming. But yeah, Dr. Stone got episode of the week for me this week just because it's like to me, this felt like one of the most. I guess like I just love what Senku did in this episode, bro. It was a lot. It was a lot that was real good. So yeah, Dr. Stone was my episode of the week this week.
It's back to what makes the show great, and we talk about that all the time. It's the way they maneuver and its progression, pushing through like scenarios that it feels like we're getting somewhere.
Right.
My episode of the week this week is definitely different than yours.
Yeah.
Even though Dr. Stone was great, and it was almost Spy Family again because that was another great episode. But it's Protocol Rain.
Well, hey, hear me out though.
now this show is, again, we talk about how bad it is all the time because it's essentially bad, and the name doesn't make any sense for what the show is. It just nothing makes sense. The animation is poor. Like everything about it is actually poor.
Yeah,
but if you're watching it, this is the turning point of this particular episode. It was really interesting. It was actually a very interesting dynamic between characters that you kind of feel like about, and then it's like a weird juxtaposition between this family dynamic that's weird, and it kind of got what it was deserving, and at one point, and it was sad at another point, and it was you like, yeah, hell yeah, at another. It was a roller coaster of emotions. Interestingly enough, and again, nobody's watching Protocol Rain. We know it. But it's Tell Sleeper, so we have to. And again, I like this episode a lot this week. I have to give it to it. While there's other episodes that was great this week, and I know they were 10 times better than this show deserved my episode of the week only because it was so...
they cleaned up their act a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, essentially. And it got interesting. So, yeah. That was my episode of the week this week. I thought you were going to go there too. I was shocked.
No, I did have some comments I wanted to bring up on Protocol Rain, and it was mostly like the family and how they're dealing with this
situation.
Yeah,
very realistic in the sense as far as what the mother is doing.
Right.
You know, like
I mean, she's a parent.
It's true.
She's doing what a mother should be doing, but it's like, I was wondering, like, do you feel like the family dynamic in terms of how they're thinking about the rehabilitation and whatnot? Like, I almost feel like maybe that's getting a little campy. Like, I don't know. Like,
I would have thought that before this episode. Yes.
Right. That's what I was meaning, though. Before this episode, I was feeling like it was getting a little bit more campy. Like it was getting quite a bit irritating. Mm-hmm. Like from the previous episode, I really, really enjoyed the fact that they kind of like stepped the game up in terms of like understanding how to actually be a pro gamer, like scouting and stuff like that against. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. And then we get into this episode that's continued, but then they build they build into, like you said, they're talking about that family dynamic a little bit more. And it's like, okay, this is before this. Yes, I would 100%. I was like, this is a little campy. And
it was very Disney Channel-esque at first. And then it started to like get a little weird at the very end of that episode before this one. And then this one is like, gets a little bit more weird. And then even the sleeping owl dude that came through and was speaking what he was speaking, I'm like, interesting twist there. Because if that's the case, then that wouldn't make a lot of sense as far as where we are now. And it's a good little tug and pull, which is stuff that I like in stories, man. That gives you like little tug and pull with characters and situations that very, very intriguing.
We were definitely not expecting any kind of decent story elements from this show.
Not at all. Not even decent character development at all. But it's here. It's here. It's sparse and
something to it for sure.
You say what?
They gave something to us this week for sure.
For sure. It's very interesting. But there's a couple of new things that I watched before we get into the main topic. The main topic, I promise you, is coming. Y'all gonna love it. But before we get into that, I watched a couple of new things that I want to quickly touch on really quick. Yeah. I watched season 1 and 2 of Kaguya-Sama Love is War. Now, for those of you that has been listening to Mike Check Waifu for a long time, you remember me saying I started season 1 of Kaguya-Sama Love is War the day it released. because I was excited about it because I read the manga. I read all of the season 1 in like one day. It was phenomenal. But the reason why I watched episode 1, it was subbed and I watched it and I'm like, this is just exactly like the manga. So it's like, I'm not getting anything new out of it. I didn't feel it was just everything that I've already read. So I wasn't that intrigued by it. So I'm like, you know what? I got this urge to watch Slice of Life because I watch Data Live or Data Live. I watched season 4 of that. Season 4 is the season, like there's a new season of that coming out. There's 4 seasons. The 5th season's coming out next year. So I'm like, you know what? Let me watch 4. Watch 4. 4 was phenomenal. I love the relationships between all the girls and the fun harem shit that goes on and him doing this little dating mini. It's a great show. I like that show a lot. But it made me want to watch more dating scenarios and situations. So I turned on Kaguya-Sama Love is War. But I turned it on dub. And I promise you I found the second best dub of all time when it comes to Kaguya-Sama, because number 1 is ReZero. ReZero has the best dub of all time. Okay, that's number 1.
That's me clapping.
But Kaguya-Sama Love is War dub is one of the greatest dubs I've ever seen in my life. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart to the top of my soul. It's so fucking good. Ian St. Clair, he's a voice of Brook in One Piece dub, in One Piece dub. His voice as the narrator in Kaguya-Sama Love is War took Kaguya-Sama Love is War to new fucking heights for me. It was so good. I'm crying, laughing, Montel, like serious crying, laughing at some of the shit that's so funny with the way he narrates it. Because it has that American tone to it, and he kind of like he playing with it. It's like he's having a fucking blast. He's the best character in the show, and he's the fucking narrator. It's incredible.
Right.
And then the voices of Kaguya and Shinoge are fantastic as well. They fit them so well. When you read in the manga, this is what you see. Like I see it better than I see the Japanese sub when I'm reading the manga. Like the emotion, and the emotion is just being silly, over dramatic, over dramatized like situations, and that's what Kaguya-Sama Love is War is. But this dub, incredible. I still got season 3 and I got a movie to watch, so I can't wait.
Yeah, I was gonna say I only watched season 1 of that, and it was because of you.
Yeah.
I thought season 1 was actually pretty good. It
was great.
But obviously I didn't read it either. I didn't read it. So season 1 was good to me, but I can't understand why you had that hard time. I might have to pick up that dub.
No, definitely. It's so, I promise you, it's so different than a sub, man. Because the narrator, he's fine in a sub, but it doesn't have as much character because, again, we don't speak the Japanese language, so we don't understand the inflections and the dramatic parts of it. But in English, it's Ian St. Clair fucking showed his ass. Like he became top 5 for me and like dub voice actors, period, because that shit is so fucking good, dude. It's so, like, I was crying, laughing. I'm like, yo, this shit was not this funny in the manga, for one. I'm like, it was funny. I laughed, but the way he just put his little spin on it was great. It was great. And then, like I said, Data Live was good to watch. And I think that's, well, there's another thing I watched, but that's part of the main topic that's brand new. But that's it. Yeah, those are the only 2 things. So two seasons of Kaguya-Sama Love is War I watched. Yeah. Data Live, I watched the whole season. So I watched, that's like 36 anime, right? Episodes right there. And then I watched our normal stuff. Oh yeah. And this is me being as honest as I am as far as my taste goes. This episode of Undead Unluck was fantastic. This was a fantastic episode of Undead Unluck. And I mean that again from the bottom of my heart to the top of my soul. I still don't think the show is good, but this episode, if this is where it can go, I like it a little bit more. I think this episode was great.
Oh, it was the emotional part that got you, like the emotional intrigue, and was that it?
Kind of. Yeah, but I think it was more so of watching them all work together.
Okay, yeah.
Watching that part was fucking fire. Because it was like, you could tell they've been working together for a long time while we thought they were like the evil corporation the entire time. They have some morals in them that seem...
And there's reason. Yeah.
That seem legit and that seems reasonable. So with that kind of brought me closer together to the other characters. I still don't like Andy that much. I still think he stinks as a character. Fuko Fuko is great. Obviously, she's literally the glue that holds that keeps me watching that show. But Andy stinks. He's garbage, like a trash character to me. And this whole Super Saiyan 3 transformation, I don't like it at all. But it was good for me to grow closer to the table, because I like the way they move. I like the way they operate.
And also remember, it's not technically a transformation. It's Andy is the transformation.
Andy is the transformation. That's true. One. That's the real him. The 200 years of experience him. So hopefully, if it continues on this track, my mind can sway. And again, I don't mind that at all. I love for me to be like, yo, this shit sucks, to this shit is great. And Dr. Stone is a perfect example, because season 2 stunk. And it stunk. Yep. And what's funny as hell is when I talked about this on Twitter a long time ago, a lot of people agreed. Season 2 fell off, including, Black Anime, or was it Off Black Mag now? They all agreed like it was bad.
And I think we had really good justification for why it felt like it fell off. 100%. The pacing was bad, and like I just said, with the campiness, it was really campy on that over explanation of things. It didn't move in a way that made it feel like anything was pertinent, even though we know that this is about to get serious. This is a serious scenario. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like they were moving like anything was serious. Like, none of this really it didn't make a difference. And then it's cool to see that like it's all that work they did before in like season 2 can kind of culminate into what we're getting now.
Right.
But they still could have done that better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because what it was the Stone Wars, right? So the Stone Wars, it did all this building and slow paced fucking inventions and nonsense moving to get to the Stone War, for the Stone War to be the most anticlimactic part of the entire season. It was the most lackluster piece of the entire show, but it was called Stone Wars. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it was super disappointing. Season 3, on the other hand, popping the fuck off. We bypassing bullshit, and we just kind of moving through the progression of the underlying story, which is very special to me. Until I know I said that was the last thing, but I did have one more thing, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and the villain this time around is like,
dope.
The villains have been pretty cool, but this villain for me, it's like the conniving, and even the presence of them, because like the eyes and whatnot. Mm-hmm. This villain feels like they're almost as smart as Senku. So it feels good, because all the other villains have been more like brutes and whatnot. So This was like someone who's trying to outthink Senku, and it gives us a different taste, a different element that we weren't getting before. It's
funny because even though he's younger than Senku in the technical basis, you could tell his age helped him kind of like work through a lot compared to the others, which were just brutes, as you said. Right. Great points. Okay. And the final thing I want to get to before we get to the topic, I promise you I'm going to get to the topic, because it's a couple of people who I want to thank for this topic, and we're going to get to that soon. But before that, I was on Twitter again, and this is the tweet that I put. And I want to clarify, because Twitter is only a certain amount of characters, even though we're verified or whatever. We could put paragraphs if we wanted to, but I don't like to fucking write that much. So, especially when it comes to Twitter, because it's just I don't care that much. But I said, if Return is Magic, if a Return is Magic should be special has Shangri-La's animation, I think most would be singing its praises instead of Shangri-La's, right? Mm-hmm. Now I said that because I'm watching Shangri-La. I watch it and I continue I'm gonna get to the Shangri-La later. I'm watching a Returner's Magic first, actually. And I'm like, man, if this shit had better animation that wasn't as stiff and stoic as it is during these fights that seem like they could be insane. Yeah. Like, this show would be, nobody's talking about this show, period. Like, nobody. And somebody replied to the comment. His name is Metamorphosis, or at Tendo Six Paths. He says, it's a nice watch, but I find myself getting distracted from it easily. Talking about a Returner's Magic. And I agree. I get distracted from Returner's Magic often too, because of the simple fact is it don't really show, like it feels like I'm watching fucking what's the show with just screenshots? The soccer one.
Blue Lock.
Blue Lock. I feel like I'm watching Blue Lock a lot of times because of the animation is it's like fireball, and it's just, and it's like it's very light, and there's no real movement or flow with it. Mm-hmm. If it just looked prettier, I think people will be fucking screaming this show's praises.
they use that dynamic background as much as they possibly have, like the main character in the spot and the background is just moving to show that there's motion. And yeah, it's obviously cheap, but
it's dull to look at. And I think it would be so much better if it had that Shangri-La's like gravitas and the impact that it does whenever he's moving and fighting a monster.
The polish.
Yeah, the polish. Yeah, exactly right. Now, as far as Shangri-La is concerned, shout out to one of our Patreon producers. Make sure y'all check out that at Dad Needs to Talk podcast. If you look in the description of the YouTube video, he's at it. So it says at Dad Needs to Talk. Just click that and it takes you to his YouTube channel. Subscribe because he has a dope podcast. He's a great one of our compatriots. He's phenomenal. And I respect anything he says. So I just want to make that clear. But he says, every time y'all bring this up, I get confused. I really like how Returners looks. And it's been far more consistent than something like Kingdoms of Ruin. Also, I think SLF, SLF is easier to grab based off the gaming stuff versus what's going on in Returners. Now, based off the gaming stuff, that's what I want to talk about as far as Shangri-La Frontier. Okay. And it's about to sound fucking just egotistical and narcissistic, but just stick with me because I promise you I'm not either one of those things. Okay. But hear me out. Okay. And I mean this from like a very respectable point. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the only person that feels this way about a video game show. Okay. I am a gamer. Everybody says that if you're a gamer, you will love Shangri-La. I don't think I know anybody as much of a gamer as I am. Specifically, when it comes to the genre of games that Shangri-La is. I'm an MMO gamer. Like my career is streaming MMOs. Like it's literally, I have always been doing. I have almost 5,000 hours in BDO. I have 700 hours in Lost Ark. I have thousands of hours in WoW from back in the day. I have hundreds and thousands of hours. Well, not hundreds of thousands of hours, but thousands of hours in RuneScape. Like there's games that I've played so much of, specifically MMOs. Like it's all I've ever done. Even Star Wars: The Old Republic, I have 500 hours in that. Elder Scrolls, hundreds and 500 hours of that at least. MMOs are my thing. So watching Shangri-La, which is based off of an MMO of somebody playing a VR MMO, and like the whole gaming aspect of it with the leveling and the status effects and the things that goes on with the criticals and shit like that, that shit doesn't make any sense. Any fucking sense whatsoever. Like from a gamer's perspective, it's pissing me off because it doesn't even vibe with the whole MMO thing. Now I get it, it's a VR, so it's all about the way you move, I guess, per se, and like the way he's earning skill. The only thing that's cool about it is it has critical attacks, I guess, but it doesn't really show me anything.
And just to add on top of that, kind of like what you say about Overtake, that if Overtake didn't have the racing in it, it would still kind of be Overtake. You know what I mean? It would still be the anime. If you took the gaming aspect out of Shangri-La Frontier, it would still feel like a very similar show. You know what I mean? Like the gaming aspect is like, they don't have to add in the critical strikes. They don't have to add in any of that fluff.
It'd just be another isekai.
It'd just be another isekai. And okay, you know what I mean? It's like the gaming part isn't, like I said, the most appealing. It's more about like the unique encounters with these monsters and how they're going to build up to that. But then it almost feels like a lot of it isn't built on actually showing us exactly those points and how we're getting there.
And that's exactly where I was getting to. So what it has is the only unique thing about it is those unique monsters that are so daunting. Like, right? Like when he fought the Lycagon, like that was cool. And the fact that he got this effect when he lost, and that was the best part about the entire show. That was the only time the show was good. Other than that, it's just been a bunch of filler nonsense. And the episodes have been 12 minutes long because at the end of a lot of them, there's 4 minutes of a bullshit side story that means nothing because it's literally 4 minutes full of just nonsense. If you look at my Crunchyroll listing, it don't even have anything to do with what's going on in like the show itself. It's just a bunch of silly gag shit at the end to kind of extend it, which makes the episodes be 25 episodes long. So there's nothing really going on in Shangri-La until this last week's, when y'all hearing this, it'll be Tuesday when y'all hearing this. So last week's episode, when Pencil Knight decides to form this party to then go after one of the unique monsters. This is the first time, and I said this to Rob, this is the first time they put a carrot on a stick for for us to chase something. Before, it was him just doing all this weird shit. And the problem is, if they didn't handicap him by putting, I don't know, by putting the handicaps on him, it would be far more interesting to watch him grow. Now, I get it's going to be some more shit going on later down the road that probably rewards him for what he's been through. It has to, because other than that, like this unique scenario he's been going through, it won't mean shit. But it's like the gaming aspect of it isn't what's keeping me. The story isn't what's keeping me, because it's just a bunch of running around screaming and kind of like regular isekai shit that has no lasting effect on anything. And then the main character fucking blows. He's boring. He's there's nothing to him whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Other than he plays trash games.
It's like Black Clover but isekai.
It's like Black Clover but isekai. That's a good way of putting it. There's nothing.
That's crazy.
There's nothing to him whatsoever. Hopefully that changes. Hopefully, some growth, some progression happens now with this carrot, with the pencil knight and the other part in the pro gamer all coming together, and the trash gamer all coming together to fight the unique monster. That's what I'm interested in seeing. Maybe they conquer it. Maybe they get some cool shit. Maybe it leads to some fucking other PvP battle. Like it could be like more
world changing dynamics, that kind of thing. Like, okay, now everybody knows that this unique encounter happened, right? So it's like
now the whole world has changed.
Of that?
Exactly. So to clear up the confusion, this is why we say Shangri-La is pretty to look at. And also shout out to Aaron from what was formerly known as Black Anime. It's now, what do you say? Yeah, off Black Magazine. He says, I agree that Returns magic animation is generic and it makes the anime worse. However, it's not just anime that makes Shangri-La more attractive anime. It is. It honestly is. Like I said, if you're a gamer and if you play the games I do, which is what this game is based off of, the MMO aspect of it is probably the least compelling part about it, because it logically don't make any sense whatsoever. None of it.
Also, you and I are not fans of the same. Like I like RPGs, but I don't like MMOs all that much. Like I'll play them, but they not like my big thing.
Right.
My favorite MMO that I did play was RuneScape, if we being real. So it's like realistically, that's where it has been hard for me. And me looking at this anime, where I know we share similar views on like how some of these things should line up. I feel the same, that like, yeah, it's nice to look at. And even if I just turn off my brain, I'm like, yeah, that was a cool episode, but I'm never going to say that it's tying me down or pulling me in with anything until we get to like this moment. Like, it's sad that a 4 or 5 minute conversation was the best part of this anime.
Right. Right. And it's rough, man. It's rough. Now, I hope that clarifies the confusion a little bit. And again, I'm not saying that to be like a cocky asshole or anything about, I'm played so many hours a game. No, I'm saying that because this is exactly like, I don't just play Assassin's Creed, or I'm not playing fighters, or I'm not playing Call of Duty. I'm playing all kinds of JRPGs, MMOs, CRPGs. Like, I play them fucking all, and I play them all for hours and hundreds of hours. I have 900 games in my Steam. It's so much that like video game like concepts and styles that I've seen, that this ain't a video gamer's paradise. If you like video games, you'll love Shangri-La, because that is not the case. Not the case at all. Because if you love video games, and if you go as deep as I do in some of the min-maxing and stats based stuff, shit makes no sense. What's cool though is seeing like when they go into the game store, seeing like generic versions of real life video games. Like seeing those covers, that's kind of cool, but other than that, who cares? Like, it's not why we there. But I digress. Hope that clears it up for you, Rob. I love you, bro. Love your conversation. Make sure y'all listen to this podcast. That Needs to Talk podcast. It's a phenomenal piece of work. It really is. All right. Now for the main topic. Sorry, it took us about 40 minutes to get into that after our little rants here. But this is a very important topic because we have two very important comments. I'm going to start off with one of our Patreon producers, T Money Fingers, the GOAT. He says, let me pull it up here. Sorry. I had to pull it up, but I clicking around so much. He says, serious question for you. Is there an amount I can donate on Patreon to get you guys to watch Blue Eye Samurai? Understandable if not. I know you're busy, but would love to hear you two opinions. Its animation is not anime, but I watched it in one sitting and it was my whole Saturday. I think it's 8 episodes and they're 45 minutes each, and it was incredible. And he said, even if you just watch one episode, the only thing I want to say is from the beginning, he's talking about how the English takes place in the Edo period, blah, blah, blah. But he's basically asked us how much to get us to talk about a topic. Now, it's funny because you're a weeb, okay? Which, I mean, we're all weebs. But you support us at the weeb tier, which is the Patreon producer tier, which gives you the right to then ask us to talk about anything you want. Like, so, I mean, and even if you wasn't a Patreon supporter, if you just hit us up and say, hey, I want to talk to y'all about something, you just let us know and we'll probably do it. But yes, we've watched all 8 episodes, and I also want to I'm going to somebody else who actually commented on our YouTube video.
Okay.
Hold on, sorry. There we go. Commenting on our YouTube video, who's been in our community for a long time. He's been in our Discord for a while, but he says, it's aliens exist. He says, y'all looking well. Yeah.
What's up, Foss?
He says, y'all looking well. Love the setup. Not sure if this is the type of anime y'all will watch, but we saw one on Netflix recently called Blue Eye Samurai. I thought it was pretty good. And I responded and said, bro, thanks so much for the comment. Come back next Tuesday, actually. So this week we're going to talk about Blue Eye Samurai. We both watched it all. It is a cartoon. It's on Netflix. So if you haven't seen it, damn, this would have been a good one to review, but we're going to talk about it, and I think we're going to spoil it.
Yeah.
Because I think
it's hard to not.
Yeah, because it's really hard not to spoil it. So if you haven't watched Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix, come back or go past the break and go to the spoiler section, or turn the podcast off if you haven't talked to or watched any other things we're going to spoil, which is what we're going to spoil after the break. Frieren.
Yeah, if we can do Frieren, you want to do Dr.Stone?
We can do Dr.Stone.
And then Blue Eye Samurai.
No, Blue Eye Samurai is we spoiling it now. So.
Oh, okay. Maybe JJK.
Yeah. Let's do JJK. That's perfect. Right. So if you haven't watched all 3 of those, then turn the podcast off. Thank you so much for listening. We love you. And as always, Mike check. Okay. Now, to go into Blue Eye Samurai. First off, I want to talk general thoughts, Till. What did you think?
I think that it had a lot of really good elements to it, especially when it comes to like the fight choreography. Fight choreography wise, this is some of the best fight choreography I've seen. Like it was over the top in terms of the actual like that there. Story wise, I felt a lot of it was predictable. I'm not saying it was a bad story though. Just predictable. But overall, it was a good watch. I didn't find myself getting bored. I thought the pacing, if I was going to rate it, the pacing was solid. Like I didn't find too many lulls where I was just like, what am I doing here? What's the next move? I always felt like I had a direction for it. But so overall, I felt like it was good. Just a little predictable. Really good.
Yeah, for me, I thought it was great, actually. Everything you said, times 2, basically. I loved. I enjoyed the story, albeit as predictable as it was. I don't think it was as predictable, but I will say this. The entire show was great, damn near perfect until the last episode. The last episode probably, I would say maybe about 20 minutes in and past. That's where it kind of was like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? And we're going to get into that, but
you feel me. I know you feel me, because I'm going to tell you exactly you feel me. I know you do.
Start with the beginning of the show. I absolutely love the story. Like it was so fucking just understandable, so well paced. The way they interweave the backgrounds and the things were just beautifully well done. It was amazing.
Right.
And I love how it tells the story of when the white man came to Japan and they slowly started to integrate, because Japan ain't know shit about white people back then. Like, it was unheard of. Like, I think they even had more black people than white people at that time of where this takes place. And obviously this is all fiction, so fiction. So it's a little bit different, but the time frame and time period is about the same. So it was honestly very, very interesting. And it's to see them go through this, because I guess we're spoiling it.
Her
to see her go through this, not only as a mixed woman, but not only as a mixed person, but a mixed woman at that, was so great. So great, because it everything about it was her skill and the fact that she fucking crafted her own sword, from which they didn't really make clear, but from the asteroid that came from the sky. It was phenomenal. The story was so good. It was so good. I loved everything about it. Like I said, until the first 20 minutes of the last episode, and then like before that, but past that last 20 minutes, I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, what is going on here?
Yeah.
But so to start off, I think it had a strong start, especially with like the emotional grasp. And I think that their view at that time was very much so like what they represented here. You know what I mean? That's what the Shogun was, and that's what overcame the Shogun. Yeah. And essentially they did feel that way about white people, and they had other feelings about other people too, but
100%.
ridiculousness in terms of that. But it was like it was historically accurate in terms of that. Now, our main character, her motivations and how these things carry out, especially from the beginning, I thought was really cool. I knew immediately that this was a girl, though. That's what made me say it was predictable. It was like,
her voice alone.
It's the girl, and how I didn't even look. I guess I technically didn't look at that, but the dub was solid. I didn't know. I didn't even check if there was like a Japanese sub or anything like that. But
because it's American made, so I didn't even look either.
I didn't even check for that. But and hear me out though. I love the voice acting in this.
Me too.
I felt like, so I think I said last week that sometimes, it was either last week or the week before, where I said like sometimes that cadence and how they talk doesn't feel real. And Netflix they nailing it on this, because like I think Arcane, they had cadences and when they spoke that felt like human, and this had a very similar cadence when some of these scenarios happened, that these conversations felt like there was an actual person who wasn't just reading from a script, but they memorized those lines and then like internalized it and felt it when they talked. You know what I mean?
I mean, the difference is that they created American first, right? So like it's done in English and then dubbed in Japanese. So because of that, then that whole dramatization that goes with the Japanese dubbing of stuff isn't there, right? Like you don't have it as a theatrical or play-like as you do for the Japanese culture compared to for the American stuff. So that is a very interesting point, because it's like the stark difference between the way we do our cadence when it comes to like voice acting and just culture in general is so vastly different that it does change the enjoyment of a show. Like your point is so valid, because when you're watching dub, and this is why people be like, I can't watch dub stuff because of that particular cadence. They just don't, you don't understand the inflections of Japanese if you don't speak Japanese. So it's like, you don't necessarily hear how theatrical it sounds when you're listening to it in subbed compared to English. And it just doesn't fit right in English because you speak English. So it's like, that shit feels weird. But if you can't suspend that disbelief and understand the difference between the two, then you obviously are going to not like dub as much. And that's why I tell people like the whole dub versus sub conversation is null and void, because back then, I'll tell you, like 2006, 7, and mostly 2008, dubs were terrible because the voice actors were like, they were new. So it's like, they were rough, but
with the dub for this though, even, and I know I keep talking about the dub, even like the main antagonist that we get, like the way that this specific person talked felt different. It felt like he even had a different cadence from everyone else in the show.
Oh my God. Sorry. What's great about that is it goes to show like fucking Castlevania just for me was just like it was so bad because of the voices are so bad. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, but every character that they introduced in these specific scenarios, it felt like even this character, he wasn't Japanese. So his way of speaking, his cadence, and even how he addressed people, like even when he looked down on people, he had that monologue where he said, like, even when you're like planning to slaughter thousands of people, you still worry about honor. And he was like, we don't worry about that. And it was like that conversation, the way he talks is just vastly different than everyone else in the show. And that made a very good like difference to me. It was impactful because this character, although like there are other villains in this show, that personification made these characters seem more person-like, you know what I mean? So it made me, that's what really kind of helped, lock it in. It was like, yo, everybody is vibing, and I loved it. It was real. It felt realistic in terms of how they were speaking. So yeah, but I know I'm like gushing over the dub here.
I can't agree with you more. Like I truly can't. And again, the main character, she was so good because again, she had that honorableness to her, but she was also very fucking like raw. And then, you know what also I love? The depiction of her not being super powerful. You know what I'm saying? She got her ass kicked a lot. Rightfully so, because you're going against 27,000 people or whatever the fuck. She was fighting armies basically.
1v1, she was putting in work.
Straight
1v4s, she was putting in work. 1v20 something, hold up.
Yeah, and even those 1v1s, that 1v1 against was Tiaga, whatever the fuck his name was. That 1v1 against, she was kind of struggling until she took off them weights and turned into Rock Lee. That shit was fire. The show was so good. It's like everything I watched was so good. I love the fact that it's a mature show. So the realism of the brothels and the nudity and the sex I love when they have that shit in there, not just because it's nudity and sex, but because it's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's real to that situation or that time.
Yes, and it brings me forward. You know what got me? I think the turning point in this particular show for me, as far as what it was when they were showing her, when they were interweaving her past when she was doing the big brothel fight, right? When they were interweaving her past between her and her mother, forcing her to marry that guy, and she wasn't for it, but he also wasn't a fucking douchebag, and they started to come closer and closer together until she shows him her strength. And then when he sees that, it's like, you really are a fucking demon.
You a monster.
So it's like seeing that shit, that got me like the most emotionally attached to the show. Really? Because her becoming like emotionally vulnerable when all she had was revenge on her mind, and her, doing what she essentially got really good at when they was sparring or whatever. For him to just be like, yo, get the fuck away from me after they just shared the most intimate moment you could have.
Right.
It was rough and it was emotional. And I'm like, fuck, that sucks, man. That's rough. During a time where she's fighting the hardest she's ever fought. During that brothel fight, she's reminiscing on all this. It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, that whole fight was crazy. Now, I want to talk about that part that lost you, right?
Okay. Yes.
And I want to talk about this because I'm going to tell you what made me feel like something ain't right here. Because I understand that this is a woman. And I understand that this is he's bigger than everybody else, but this white man is bigger than everybody else, right? He's the villain. Mm-hmm. Why was his specific fight so hard?
I mean, you said it. Like, you think about it, right? The tallest these people are 5'7".
Hear me out.
This is the Edo period too, so they're even shorter.
Yeah, they're shorter than that. So I understand, and this is also a mixed woman, so she's not tall either. But it's she's like
5'6", so she's taller than the regular people there.
the toughest of people here. The only benefit that he really had was strength. But even if we're talking about in terms of training,
but he was also a warrior too, though. You got to remember that.
I feel you.
He came over from the
gun
from the British Army, though.
Yeah, I get that. He came with guns. He ain't come with years of hands and swords. Maybe he did. I don't know. But I was like,
yeah, but he was there for 20 years. So what do you think he did in that castle by himself? Sat on his fingers? Oh, come on, man. Nah, he.
But I was confused because it was like, I feel you that he's supposed to be a hard person to fight. He's the final boss of the show.
Not even just that,
because I didn't feel like it was properly done. But then you mix with the fact that like you have the princess who's having her moment, and I don't feel like that was properly integrated with these characters as well. Like they tried to merge these stories at the end, and that fighting plus like, okay, this princess is taking her power back kind of thing kind of felt a little off to me.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say that maybe we don't agree on that, but that's
very different.
Towards the end, I was like, what's going on here in like these last 30 minutes of this show?
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but we're very different only because of the fact is that the white man, very believable only because, again, these people are small, Asian. They only fight with swords. They eat, and this is, I'm obviously not trying to be racist, but this is like literal fact. They eat healthy, fish and rice. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all stuff that is like, he's eating milk and he got strong bone. Like, it's just a bunch of different shit that comes into the build of a white European man who sound like he was from Ireland.
Yeah, he did sound like he was from Ireland.
Yeah,
he sound like he was from Ireland.
So he's like Nordic too. So it's like all this shit that kind of goes together with just him having the natural strength. I believe that. Where I had my problems was with the march up to the castle. They come in, they assassinate the shogunate. Okay, then she comes through. When she comes through, she's fucking chopping people up. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody in that room dead. Okay. Why does he run deeper into the castle and not back out to his army that has guns?
Yeah.
You run out of the fucking door, the door you came in, basically, because it seemed like he just walked in the doorway and he's at the emperor. Why not go back towards your army and fight out there where you have a whole army of guns instead of running through this castle with this one person that has a sword and you trying to 1v1? Nah, that don't make any sense.
And I'm going to tell you why that characterization works for me. And I'm going to tell you why. Like you said, this is a 250, maybe heavier pound white man from Ireland, Nordic build, been eating his custard.
Yep.
He got strong bones. And he also demonstrated beforehand that he does not fear these people in the slightest. When she was coming up the tower through the traps and whatnot.
What you're saying makes sense if he didn't fear him, but he ran scared. Right. He was scared when he was running from her. If you saw his face,
and I understand that. But what I'm saying is this: I think that he was, and this is what I'm thinking. As a person who's actually scared, right? Like, let's say you're realistically scared. Yes, he would have ran back to the army because he knows that for sure they fire those guns, it's a wrap, right?
That's it.
He ran somewhere where he can shoot the fair ones, the 1v1. And I think this is what I'm saying. As an overconfident,
we just talked about how he's not honorable.
I understand that. I'm not saying honorable. He's saying I'm thinking he feels at an advantage somewhere else. Because she got to drop on them in this scenario.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I'm not saying it's good writing, but I'm saying I understand the characterization of someone who's overconfident doing something that don't make sense. Because like if you were scared, common sense says go to where you feel safe at, and that's with the guns.
Bro, I'm telling you now, go back to that scene where she first, just that one scene if you can, promise you. Go back to that scene where she dives in and she's chopping people up and chopping him up. He's like, oh, like
I remember it vividly.
His eyes get big and he starts scrambling away from her, like scrambling away from her in the castle. That's not like, oh, follow me. Let's take this shit outside and I'm gonna run you, fair ones. Yeah. No, he's like, oh my god, no. All he had to do was run the opposite way he ran towards his fucking army and shoot him up, like put 9 in him.
This story would have been done had you done that.
It would have been done had you done that. So like logically, that part didn't make sense, and this is where it starts to collapse because it gets further into it. Now they're fighting, which is cool. The fight is going exactly how it is, and this is where we talk about it becoming predictable. You know, fire gets set, it spreads everywhere. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
The whole princess thing. Now I'm with you to a certain extent. Because she was fucking moving the way she was about to take over that sun. She was about to swing that shit. And that shit was dope.
And I enjoyed that part.
Me too. So I understand that part. And then when her boy get killed, that whole emotional breakdown part I felt it too. But her just fucking completely throwing Tango, whatever his name was, to the side like that. That
didn't feel real.
It didn't feel real. And then towards the end of that, she pulls up on the mother and it's all burning down, and I'm glad your wife survived, blah blah blah. Then it jumps to our main girl. When it jumps to our main girl, she's on she's talking to him, and he's like, I got London or whatever the fuck, and they're on a boat and in the cage. That part to me, I'm like, what the fuck happened? How are you gonna put him in the cage on a boat when this man just literally assassinated the shogunate? Why do you have the authority to put him on a boat in a jail cell and go across to London? But like everybody, like, did you escape with him? Did you pick him up and put him in the fucking in handcuffs? Like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. And a lot of that right there, everything you just said, I was like, wait, what? And to me, it makes less sense to think that if I would have rather them have just killed him, because and like I said, this is why I'm like thinking in my head, if you kill him, those same white people you're worried about, they're going to show up eventually anyway.
100%.
If I take him there, we get there, they have weapons, guns and stuff that we don't have, that we are too honorable to use. We pull up, we got your boy in a cage.
How the fuck did she get him in a cage? Did she tie him up with rope? I'm confused. Like, when did it happen? Like, when did you tie him up with rope? When did you take him to a dock? When did any of like the queen or you know, the shogun's ex-wife or widow, you know, when did she say, hey, you can take him on a boat? Like, it just happened. She was just on a boat and they were on their way there to London. Like, none of that part just did not make any sense. It's like it was rushed to get to the next part.
And specifically to me, just hear me out. I'm gonna just say this. That man said a lot of things that to me, in my mind, I would have instantly been like, well, you know too much about how I was discarded as a child. You're my dad. I'm just going to kill you then. And I can move on with my life. You know too much. I get that you want to get all four of them. He said everything that happened to you as a child. Yeah. X them off the list and just move on. Like, if they show up, they show up. It is what it is. And I know you want your revenge, but it's like, that part, he said too much. He said everything, right? Didn't he say everything from the beginning?
Yep.
I'm just like, why is he not off the list?
He should have been off the list. None of it makes any fucking sense. The whole last part of him running deeper into the castle, of him being defeated and then being on the fucking ship, that part blew the hell out of me, because even if that's not the case, Montel, even if that's not the case, let's say he tells her all this information, why not fucking kill him and get on a boat to London? Why would you need to bring him? Why would he need to get handcuffed? Like, I don't understand how he gets arrested and thrown on the boat. You know what I'm saying? Like, who supplied the boat? It was all, the pacing was so good and the storytelling was all so good. It made the most logical sense. I mean, outside of, you know, weird superhero shit that, you know, anime or cartoons have, but it all made sense all the way up into this particular piece of the show made zero sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just didn't make no fucking sense right there.
Yeah. I'm happy you agree with me there on there too, because bro.
No, I was so confused. I'm like, wait, what? Why does all this just happen? And even if they just cut to black and didn't show anything else from her and just showed the princess like, oh, I'm about to make these moves, and just ended it there, then that would have been better. I think it would have left a better taste in my mouth than him being on this boat in the last few minutes out of fucking nowhere. I don't know, but we are getting a second season, clearly. I'm glad. Yeah,
I mean, I imagine we get at least 2 more seasons.
Yes.
Based on how that ended, I feel like we're going to get at least 2 more.
Yeah. But overall, great show, great choreography, great animation, beautiful art. I loved it until the last 35 minutes of the episode. Yuto?
Yeah, it was fire, bro. I think that the only things I can knock from it is, like I said, a little bit of that pacing. And then like I felt like it was a little predictable. But like even there was so many scenes I thought were like amazing. Like I said, the fight choreography, even the monkey scene. Everything that happened after that was amazing too. With like
sick.
the ogre dude getting engulfed in flames and knowing that that's just her imagination from being drugged or whatever.
Yep.
There was a lot of it that was good. Some of it, so much of it was good. And yeah, I think it was a great watch. And I'm excited for season 2 to see what we get there. I just hope they tie up some of these weird ends.
Yeah, like come back and tell us what the fuck exactly happened before you. That shit was mad weird. All right.
Yeah, I watched the credits and got to the end to see if they showed. Like, show me what happened there.
Yeah, that was so confusing. A very enjoyable show. Well, we hope you enjoyed that little section of Blue Eyed Samurai conversation from us. We're going to take this quick break and come back and spoil all of the things we talked about before. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to episode 231 of Mic Check Waifu. Welcome to Spoiler Talk, where we discuss spoilers for the current season, 3 shows from the current season. We're going to start off with Frieren, episode 13. You know what? Let's Audible. Hawk, USA, Blue 42, JJK. Let's start with JJK episode 19.
Ooh. Okay.
So quick Audible on that. JJK episode 19. Because it's coming to a head, you know. Yeah, so I'm gonna start. For me, and this is about to sound crazy, I don't feel emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we lost Nanami, I didn't feel emotional. When we lost, or quote unquote lost, what's her name?
Nabara.
I didn't feel emotional. For some reason, man, reading it fucks me. I'm learning. But I'm also wanting to just fucking read at this point. Like I'm kind of like, okay, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because I read it all, because I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm not that emotionally invested in the scenes when they happen. It's cool to see, but something about it where I'm just kind of like disconnected. And maybe because I know what's coming, that it feels like, because I'm already spoiled in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. I don't feel as connected to the situations, but I still love the characters. I still love the show when I'm watching it. Like I'm enjoying it, but I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sad, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not, I don't know. I don't feel anything.
But did you feel it the first time you read it? You know what I mean? Did you feel like, oh man, that's kind of crazy. That's fucked up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm like, oh,
at some point
shit.
you felt it. Yeah. At some point you felt it. It's just right now you already marinated on it. So it's like, okay, well,
that's true. And it was so long ago. So yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But it's like the whole show, this whole season, I feel so disconnected from everything, and it's like, I like it. I'm like, it's eye candy for me at this point. I'm loving the fucking fights and seeing them animated, but I don't care about anything. And it's not the same as I don't care about the way I did with Attack on Titan, because I just fell out of love with the dryness of those characters. I still love the characters. I'm still loving their sub performances. I'm still loving how it looks and plays out and everything that goes on with JJK, but I'm just not as invested.
So for me, this is one of my favorite sub voice acted anime.
Yeah, 100%.
And I say this specifically for the fact of, like, we were just talking about like cadence. Mm-hmm. And specifically these last like 2 episodes brought it out for me. And it's because of like, or let's say 3, because it's really been 3 back to back. After what happened with Sukuna and Gojo, or Jogo, Sukuna, and how Itadori was acting, right? How Yuji Itadori was acting, his voice. And it's specifically his voice actor in like these specific scenarios. It sounds like shaken, right? Like he's actually shook. Like whoever this Japanese dude is, he had to be from Broadway. He's a Broadway performer. Because he sounds shaken in the way he's been talking for the last 3 episodes. And when he sound mad, he sound mad. Yep. And it's like, this has probably been some of my favorite sub voice acting. It's been crazy. And that's what has drawn me in the most, is that, like, I already know what's happening. I already know what's cooked up. I already know what's about to get delivered. But it's like the voice acting and actually feeling like, man, this feel like Yuji actually going through some stuff right now.
Yeah.
He feel like he done murdered a whole town, a whole city. He feel like he just watched a mentor. Well, not feel like, he just watched a mentor get explodey faced it in front of him.
Yep.
Then he watched a friend, one of the first few friends he done made, also get explodey faced.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every time it's the visual reaction of his face that's well drawn. I appreciate the animators sticking to their jobs and doing this. Y'all deserve a vacation. But the way it visually looks, and then you implement that voice acting into it, like I said, some of the best sub voice acting I feel like I've heard.
Agreed.
I definitely felt like emotion, like, dang, man, that's fucked up. Like I ain't feel that in reading it in terms of that part. But I do understand the disconnection, because it's like, okay, we know what's happening, so it is what it is. But
yeah, while I didn't feel the emotional aspect of like, oh, she's hurt, like oh my God, no, Nobara. I didn't feel that. I did feel the performance, like you said. The performance was fucking incredible. I do agree there. And it's just, and even the performance of the fucking Patch Face. It's so good, man. Yeah, it's so good. Like he very talented group of, very talented cast they have over there on the sub side.
Yeah,
dubbed is a little rough for around the edges, but sub wise, it's fucking incredible. It's incredible. I don't remember if she's dead for real or not, to be honest. I think she's not, if I remember correct. I guess I shouldn't talk about that because that's manga stuff. But I digress. Like this goes back to the rock and the hard place. I want to read it because of the simple fact is and I want to go back to right when the season end, wherever the season end. I want to go back and reread where I was, and kind of just want to read it forward now.
Refresh again.
Yeah, refresh. It's because, like I said, I got to chapter 181, so which is well beyond this particular part because there's a lot that goes on after that during this whole thing, like the whole, everything that goes on, and I kind of want to reread it up again up until 180 again, just to kind of catch up and probably stay there. But I know. Kind of want to see what kind of happens too.
I mean, you stay spoiler free, so
yeah.
I mean, I've read past that,
but I know what's gonna happen is that it's gonna ruin our conversation when it comes to this show because like it did this season. Like this season, if you compare it to us not reading season 1 and then just talking about JJK, the way we talked about it was so mic check, that people loved it, and then now that we've read it, we don't barely talk about it because it's like we don't.
It is what kind of keeps our Kimetsu no Yaiba conversation so fresh, right?
Yes.
It's the fact that we just have no inclination of what's going on. We have no idea what's happening.
Yes.
So when it happens, it is a raw conversation. So I mean, realistically, I think that the best thing to do would be to stay refreshed where you are and not to continue to go forward if we're going to keep it going because this is it. This is good. This is.
Yes. So technically, I would say I'm probably season 4 with 180. If the pacing is correct.
I got to remember what happens in 180.
Yeah, I can't really say on the show. But the game is coming to a head, because of the next strongest. I'll just say that. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a straight demon. But I digress. Yeah, maybe I'll just go back and read up until 180 again and just stop and leave it stop there. And not continue. So maybe in season 4, it'll be fresh for us again. Well, probably not for. How far did you get? You don't mark it in your Anilist, do you?
No.
The manga reads. How far did you get chapter wise? I guess you could look at your Shonen Jump app, right?
I don't read on Shonen Jump.
You thief.
Hold on. Because it's on Viz Manga.
Oh, the same thing.
All right, it's up to chapter 244. I'm on chapter 238.
Oh, so you've been reading the whole damn thing the entire time. I wish I would have known that. Okay. Yeah, that's wild. I should
shit happened.
I should just really read it all. Fuck it. I'll read it all at this point. Because if you're already damn near caught up, then there's no fucking point to me being the only one behind. Don't make any sense.
Eventually I'm not going to be caught up because if you're not reading no more, I'm going to stop reading it.
You've been reading the whole time, though. You're 10 chapters behind. So we might as well read it and go from there. Maybe have a JJK manga Monday or some shit. Or might check manga or something.
Yeah, demon time.
Yeah, at this point. All right, well, that's interesting. So the JJK talk might be as kind of vague as it has been, but it's a great show, man.
It's a phenomenal show, not a great show.
Map was doing their fucking thing. The sound design, music, animation, they're doing their fucking thing. So I know if y'all wanted to hear us talk about it, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna fucking read it now. I'm just gonna read it all at this point. All right, moving on. Let's talk Dr. Stone, and then say rent free for last.
One of my favorite episodes of Dr. Stone, period. This was great.
Yeah, I agree. This is a great fucking episode. I love the way he moves, man. It's so, at least in these past this whole season, the way he moves made the most sense, minus the whole rat car thing. Like his adventures are getting so out of control. At this point, you might as well have everything, but
right.
I like the fact that they're doing that because it's kind of just getting to the meat of what the premise and the situations are. So to see him explain what they did when the beam was coming out to keep itself to keep itself unpetrified was genius, man, and I love that.
Oh my God. And it was great seeing him like real time hypothesize that, all right, maybe I just put my finger in it and then see what happens there. Or maybe I have to try and set up a way. And it was like what he did was great because they gave us that explanation and then gave us the fact that if he had done just one of those two things, he would have failed. He would have lost. And
he don't know. He don't know, but what he's because this is what he said. He was saying like, I don't know if that's the outcome of this, but instead of taking that risk, I'm gonna do what I know works.
Right. No, what I'm saying is after he did it though, when he did what he know works, he said that it seems like anything that would have been touched would have not been petrified, but everything else would have still been.
Right. He would have lost that piece.
He said his finger would have rotted off.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, yeah, bro. Like, I love how the explanations went this specific episode. I love how our villain had his own explanation. He's got his monologue where he's saying, he's realizing that these are not stupid people to fight. You know what I mean? It's hard to fight stupid people because you don't know what a stupid person is going to do. But people who are smart, they're easier to predict because they're going to take the best possible course of action. Yep. And I was like, yo.
Yeah, the whole tug of war thing. I felt it. Huh? The whole tug of war thing, for instance, was the perfect example of that.
I felt it. I was like, I actually don't know how Senku going to win this. Even when it came to the beam, I knew he was going to win because he's the main character. But I didn't know how he was going to win. Yeah. Because it's like, boom.
We know the outcome. We don't know the destination to get to that outcome. The route to get to that outcome.
Exactly. And they did a good job of giving us an impact with each turn they provided. And that's what made this episode so good was that they kept giving us those turns. They gave us those explanations. They gave us the dynamic between two geniuses fighting each other and trying to outcon and outthink the other. It felt like a game of chess, bro, but in action.
You want to know what I'm loving best about this season 2?
What's that?
And it's about to sound so fucking cliche, but the loyalty within the kingdom of science that is forming between, they know that if they just follow Senku's methods, it'll work out. It'll always work out. So everybody's sacrificing themselves and the fucking
even the past enemies.
Yep, the past enemies. The captain, I forget his name. The captain, man, he's so fire. I didn't think I was gonna like him because when you introduce a new character, and we're gonna talk about this for Frieren too. When you introduce a new character, it's hard for you to feel like, nobody should join them right now because who we got now is actually working so well, and I don't want to throw off that dynamic. Yeah. He doesn't. He fits the dynamic so perfectly, even with his egotistical, rich. I want to buy everything. Shit. I love him as a character. He's fucking phenomenal because he understands and he believes in this shit. And like you said with the villain, even Moe's making that switch. Like, yo, I'm about to I kind of fuck with the Kingdom of Science now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I hope they unpetrify him, and I hope they don't unpetrify. No, Moise is the other bad guy. I'm sorry, the bad guy.
The stick dude.
Yeah, the stick dude. I hope they unpetrify him though. He's a dope character too. But I digress. Like, it's moving so fucking good that I can't even like.
His name was Hyoga.
That's what his name was. I can't even fathom how they could fuck this up. What sucks is it ends at such a great point. Like, I want to know what happens now. We won. Let's go. Let's keep it moving. But it's, again, shout out to people like Rob who just get to binge it through, who's waiting for the dub. Like, shout out to people who get to binge Dr.Stone, because watching this week to week has been hard, because every single episode this season has been fantastic, and it just leaves you wanting more in a very respectful manner, not in a blue ball way, but in a respectful way that's like, oh shit, let's go. What's next?
Man. And I'm ready for more, because they lined us up with some greatness this time around, man.
Right. Like now we're gonna get to see the aftermath of all this. Where does this start to? Where do we go from here? I think I know we're going to start developing the nitric acid and freeing the villagers and everybody that got caught, and adding to the Kingdom of Science, which is going to be dope. But I'm loving it. I'm loving Dr. Stone right now. And it's so crazy, the stark difference between the then and the nows.
Yeah, bro. Because this was phenomenal. This is a great episode. Definitely worthy of episode of the week for sure.
Yeah, great season in general. Now, Rent Free. While the episode was a lot more tame, still absolutely perfect continuation. Because again, what I just said about Dr. Stone, about them adding a character and kind of hopefully changing the dynamic, this character. Because I felt this way about Stark at first. I'm like, oh, don't bring him, because now Fern and Frieren is like great. Those two are perfect. Now you about to add this guy who's kind of like a scaredy bitch. I don't know about this, and he fits perfectly. Now with this, what Frieren does well with this priest that they've are quote unquote temporarily traveling with now, the way they developed him in just one episode just shows how good the characters are in this show. Period. Like, how do you develop a character in 20 minutes? Frieren has the fucking answer. Like,
I'll tell you how. They ain't waste no time.
No time, man. No time wasted in developing him. I like him. I think he fits. I think it's the way what they do always so well. The way they intertwine Frieren's past and the lessons she learned from joining the heroes party, implementing it into what the priest is going through, because it's just the same situation, just a different person.
Right. And they do a great job of building that backstory and then having it culminate into what we see as the motivation or the driving force in the present.
Absolutely.
They did that so well. They gave us multiple backstories. They gave us when he was a young kid to when they were adults. But now this is even 10 years later from that last original meeting. And we know the depth of this world or some of the depth of this world, that we don't know what's going on with his friend. But if it's been 10 years, it could be that he's just out here traveling. And I love that so much of this show is about the time. It's been 10 years. He was supposed to be back in 3.
Yep.
It's been 10 years. And it's like that amount of time is important, especially for a human. That's a long time.
Yeah. It's a very long time. So I don't know, man. Everything is so grounded. That's so weird to say about a fantasy show, but everything is so grounded to the point where it's like, that's what makes you more attached to everything. So the characters are grounded because you completely understand why he decides not to leave the village, because he's waiting for his best friend to come back. Right. And he's like, if I leave, what if he comes up? What if he shows up at year 10, day 37? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if he shows up year 11, day 56? Like, so me leaving, you leaving and missing something like that is rough, but you also like, you hear your brother talking like, I'm not going to leave because he don't want to go anywhere else where he has to take his brother with him because then his brother can miss the opportunity to miss out on coming to see his friend and then becoming an adventurer with his friend. So the sacrifice his older brother took also made him feel guilty about wanting to leave and, you know, not leaving. And it's just, it all comes together in this emotional impact that is so crazy. It's so crazy. Like, there's no excuse for any other show to have bad characters. That's just my point.
You said there's no excuse. There is an excuse. There's got to be an excuse, bro, because they wouldn't make bad characters if they could just write Frieren characters every time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no excuse for Shangri-La to be as shallow as it is, right? Because you can write, you have 25 episodes. Instead of spending 4 minutes on satire at the end of each episode, write more. Write more depth. You know, like, it's just the depth between Overtake and MF Ghost. Like, I'm in MF Ghost for the racist. I'm in Overtake for the story. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, there's no excuse for bad characters. I even fucking like the shit called a playthrough of a certain dude's VR MMO life. Like, I'm liking that character depth, even though it's not much, but it's there, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Frieren is perfect. It's definitely going to be anime of the year, probably.
That's crazy. It's not crazy. It's on point.
Yeah. So,
because they ain't dropped the ball at all.
Not one episode I could say that I watched and was like, ugh, or like, what happened? Or
I hate that it feels like it's giving me Jobless Reincarnation vibes visually, but the story is like, it's different, but it just feels so like it's comfortable, bro. It's comfortable. It's a comfortable anime with craziness in it,
bro. It's so crazy because Jobless Reincarnation and Frieren have so much in common, but they're so different. They're so very, very vastly different between like what's going on in Jobless Reincarnation compared to what's going on in Frieren, but they're so similar with the feel and the.
It feels like Frieren was like, hey, knocked on Jobless Reincarnation door. Like, what made you successful? What was your formula? And Frieren was like, oh, that's what you wrote. That's what you did. I'm gonna write it down.
Yep.
And they just said, let's do it.
And it was like in an alluring world.
Man, it's crazy.
It's all it takes, man. It's all it takes. And then like a goal, man. Fuck it. It's so hard. It's so easy for shows to have a goal and us enjoy it. Like, as long as there's a goal or something, the carrot on the stick. I think it's easier to process, to manage, to watch, opposed to something that just kind of do stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And what they do, I'm glad you said goal, is that the current goal we have now was not always the goal.
Yeah.
They changed the goal without making it feel like the goal has ever really changed.
Right.
And that's what makes it so crazy. It's like you change, and that's what Jobless Reincarnation also did too.
Yep.
The goal would change, but it never really felt like it changed. And this show is also doing that, and it's doing it so well. Yeah. Because at first we were just traveling, collecting spells. Then we were heading to see the hero. Then we were heading to see the priest. And then we were heading, and it's like, yeah, we're just seeing people, but the goal changes and shifted. Now we're trying to get to heaven. And it's like, it didn't feel like it shifted, but the direction is so like, it's the way they're just delivering the direction is crazy.
It's crazy that you mentioned that because it only changed once when you think about it. Her goal was to find spells to find her master's tome. That was her initial goal.
And then put the flowers out.
Yep. And
she did it for him too.
Yep. And to pay respects. She finds the tome, and the tome leads to the next goal, which is the goal, right? So between those two small goals, there were small small pieces of different goals that was interwoven within the world that was just beautifully done, man. It's a flawless show because, again, it's nothing but travel. A travel with characters that you get to learn about, that you get to grow with, that you get to understand, that you get to. It's just phenomenal, man. I don't know how this can even go wrong, like Kingdoms of Ruin did. I didn't even watch this most recent episode. I think I'm like ready to just.
It was garbage.
I think I'm ready to be done and just binge it all later.
It's actually bad.
I let it hit my anime in progress and call it a day.
Upset of the year. That's
crazy, man. How fucking what a fall off that is. Anyway, this is about Frieren praise. It's perfect, man. It's perfect. I do want to say that our dating story is about to get messy again.
Oh yeah, that was definitely like a precursor to some messiness.
Yep. So,
that sister, I feel you, but I don't. Come on, man, you gotta chill.
And it's not even a sister's. Like, it's why is Runa upset? Sorry to add in a little spoiler talk for our dating story, but why? Because she heard her confess again and say, like, I know you don't. Yeah. I know it's not going to change. Like, so why did Runa get upset?
And he never said anything that was out of pocket, wrong. He ain't say, oh, well, I love and support your love. You should love me for sure.
Right.
He ain't do none of that. It was just like, I mean, that's her sister. And I get that. Maybe it's hard to hear your sister, but why be mad at our boy?
My Ryoto. I don't get it. That's the part that's hard for me to understand. And maybe because it's written by a woman, so she understands why a woman would be mad at that particular situation better than I would. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Misconceptions happen.
Misconceptions totally happen. So maybe she's like, maybe I should do this for my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Type shit. I don't agree with it at all, but that could be it. Anyway, I love the show, but I'm at Polo Bornfly on all social media.
I'm at King Teliano on all social media.
You can follow our social medias at Mike Check Waifu on Twitter, X, and at Mike Check Waifu on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. And as always, Mike Check.
You're now tuned into Mike Check Waifu Waifu.